Hi, I'm James Eade, president of the Eade Foundation. You can call me Jim. And I want to talk a little bit about the Eade Foundation. The Eade Foundation is trying to build communities through chess. So if you play chess, we don't care what language you speak, we don't care where you're from, you're part of a chess community. And if you're part of a chess community, you're never alone. So I think that chess is a great thing to do, and that's what the foundation is all about, because it's a gift that you give to a kid that lasts a lifetime. It's an educational tool when they're young. It's a pleasant pastime when they're in middle age, and it's a solace in old age. You don't worry about your doctor bills or your hospital appointments or anything like that when you're playing chess. It's a world unto itself, and it's a language that is universal. If you know how to play chess, you can play no matter what language you speak. And if you know how to play chess and you can get online to play chess, then you can play anyone, anywhere in the world, even if they don't speak their language. And online chess is the topic of today's Chess Files. I want to talk about the chess files. The answers are out there. And today's question is, can you teach chess online? And my guest today is Grandmaster Joel Benjamin. Joel, thank you for coming to this program.
Oh, my pleasure, Jim.
Thank you. And I really wanted to ask you the question, can you teach chess online? But before that, I wanted to, I don't think you need any introduction to the viewing audience. Hi, Mom. And but I do think that people may not know all of your accomplishments, especially that you were the U.S. junior champion, the U.S. champion, and then you have recently become the U.S. senior champion. And no one has ever done all three. Is that right? Or am I making that up?
That's true. Although it has to be said that the senior invitational championship has only existed for 2 years. So I had the best chance of getting in there.
But there was a senior invitation. That was a senior open, I guess.
Senior open, yeah. I haven't won that yet, but
okay.
Maybe in the future.
I played that when I was first eligible. I haven't played since because guys like you started to become eligible. I had my chance when I turned 50, and I finished tied for second. And then Larry Christensen turned 50, and it was all over for me. And now guys like you are turning 50. That's not fair.
For a while now.
Yeah. Well, I would like to introduce our other guest. Harold Scott, and Joel, why don't you do the introductions for me?
Yeah, well, Harold is an old friend of mine, from the chess business and the rock music business. And recently, Harold had an idea to put together a company for online teaching, and he and his partners decided to bring me in. So now we're getting started with that. We're pretty excited about it. So we'll welcome the president of the American Online Chess Academy, Harold Scott.
Hey guys,
Harold. So you're the president. That means you're the grand fromage, the big guy at the company. So tell me about how did you get the the Mets fans speak but how did you start the company? How did you come up with the idea? How did you go about it? Tell me a little bit about how you began.
Sure. It was shortly after COVID took over the world here. And, I was a very active, still am an active teacher in the New York City area. And I'm also a tournament director, senior tournament director. So I was out there coaching a lot, teaching in schools, directing a lot. And all that kind of went by the wayside. So with COVID, I said to myself, well, we're in this online world as schools were transitioning to online teaching. And I said, it's got to be an online academy. So I decided not to just sit on my duff, and I had to do something. And so first thing I did is I reached out to some also old friends of mine, Paul Ascalese and Roger LaFleur. They had a business on Long Island called the Long Island Chess Center. It was a brick and mortar teaching facility, and
cool.
COVID put an end to that. But they already had the structure. Yeah, they already had the structure of a business. And they're great old friends, and I just love being in contact with them on a regular basis. So I told them of the idea that I had, and they were very hip to it. And then as we started getting going, I said, guys, wait, I have a very strong idea. And that was to bring Joel on, because Joel obviously is a name that most chess fans in the United States are familiar with here. And they obviously, because they're in my age bracket, and they were fans of Joel's for many, many years, as Joel was a top player in the U.S.
Who wasn't? Who wasn't? Yeah.
Oh, shucks.
These guys were following the U.S. Senior Championship round by round, because it brought them right back to the good old days, and Joel at the top of the list competing. So we all were. So I don't think I got a stitch of work done those few days that he was involved there. I was following the rounds religiously.
Yes.
Joel, so I hit Joel with the idea, and of course I've worked at a school in New York City with Joel for the past 3 years, where we'd be coaching together at national events, state and city events. And so not only did I know Joel for many, many years, but I got to see him work firsthand with children of either an advanced level or a very, very basic level, young players who are very new to the game. And of course, I was very impressed how he can work with such a wide range of students. Not every grandmaster has teaching skills.
That is so true. Yes.
Some GMs can be poor in their teaching, because they understand chess at a level up here, and it's yes, hard for them to bring it down to the level of the masses. And Joel
can act like a child, so I know that he can relate.
but he had a nice gentle touch, and Joel was very hip to the idea as well. And
That's
then starting
fantastic.
in June is when we started moving forward. We created the company rather rapidly. We did some camps over the summer, which were well attended, and now we're in the process. They just had the announcement coming out within the past week about the K through 12 showdown, which was normally the Orlando tournament, then the K through 12 nationals. And so we're putting together a prep session for that, which is going to be over the Thanksgiving weekend, so people can cram in, some knowledge over that weekend as last minute prep for the nationals.
I'm familiar with the traditional chess camps that go on in the summer. How did you handle it this year?
Oh, it went very smoothly, actually. We built our website. We have a functioning playing room or tournament room on our website, and through the use of Zoom technology, it was very good. And one of the nice features about our camps was that we were able to have students play games, and then immediately upon the conclusion of the game, we put them into a breakout room with Joel, and Joel was able to do analysis of their games with them. So we kept on rotating players in who, upon conclusion of their games, they were going through that. Now, naturally, we also had teaching sessions to start off with, and then
Sure.
when we went to the playing session, it was provided with a GM analysis. So it was a wonderful experience, and well received by the students who attended the camp.
It sounds fantastic, just conceptually, and I take your word that people really got a lot out of it. But I wonder, do you have a URL that people could go to your website? I don't have it to show people.
Yeah,
Could you just?
Yeah, it's AmericanOnlineChess.com.
Okay, AmericanOnlineChess.com. I can remember that. So people at home, I think you can do it. American Chess Online is a place where you can go to learn, to play.
Yeah. We have tournaments, and also we do these little camps. We do group lessons. Of course, we do private lessons as well. But it's good, and we wanted to create the beauty of having this online chess academy is, when we did in-person camps and things like that, we were limited to the New York area for the most part. I know Joel travels to different camps across the country,
Sure.
but it is a national a thing where anybody from California, where you're located, to Texas, to Chicago, to New York, can come and be a part of it. So we wanted to, when we created the name, we wanted a national name,
Right.
with national appeal. So the American Online Chess Academy is what we came up with, and we thought it was a good name that we could turn into a brand.
Terrific, Harold. I just tip my cap to you for thinking of it and making it happen. But my question, thank you. My question is to Joel. I get a concept of how this works from Harold's point of view. How about teaching online? Is there a difference between, I imagine there is a difference between an online experience of teaching and in-person teaching. But can you tell me about the difference? Does it really matter? Does it make a big difference, a little difference? Tell me about that.
Well, I've been in the teaching business for quite a while. I've had a lot of private students, and I've had students online and students in person. A lot of people, kids, parents are a little wary about online, but in so many cases, I had to give a lesson online to one of those students. And almost always, once they took an online lesson, they never went back. They realize it's better. You get more done. There's no, resetting the pieces.
Right.
Like either if you're using a board or using a demo board. I mean, demo boards, that is so 20th century, right? I mean, remember like Shelby Lyman didn't know where to put the pieces and all that. I mean,
Shelby.
I was so tired of that. Here you can just,
Shelby.
Yeah.
Yep.
You click a button and you're at the position you want.
Exactly.
And so it just works better. Like I found that in the private lessons, it works better. And when you're working with a group, I think it's a lot easier to handle that as well.
Yeah.
We have an excellent classroom. We have, where we have the lessons loaded onto our site, and we can pull them up very easily. And we also have a great playing facility that just, we can set up games very quickly and watch all the games, so we know what's going on. And as Harold said, at the end of the game, you could do the breakout sessions and analyze. I mean, chess is one of the few things that not only works okay online as a virtual experience, it actually works better.
Yeah.
I think it's a killer app. That's the way I've always talked about it, and I felt like the chess world was not making the best use of it. And I think you guys have hit on how to do it.
Well, chess was one of the first things to come on the internet back in the late 80s, before we had even America Online, which was an early ISP. But so chess has been around
Shudder.
for many, many years. And the school that I teach at now, which is called Avenues the World School in New York City, which I'm head coach at, of all their after-school programs, chess, when they had to make the switch from teaching in person to online because of COVID, chess made the easiest transition. Because chess, we're geared up for it, and like Joel said, there's many efficiencies, having those positions and the lessons ready to go, and also it's nice having that little mute button when the class becomes a little bit loud and unruly. And I wish I could. When we go back to in-person learning at the school, I wish I still had.
You want that?
Yeah.
Well, do you think you will go back to in-person training?
Oh, most definitely, especially in the schools. But I will say, Joel was, the majority of his students have been online students for his private students over the recent several years. My experience is a little bit different. I had a lot of private students in the New York City area, so after I do an after school or on the weekends, I'm traipsing up and down Manhattan, trying to get from lesson to lesson.
I remember what that was like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
even
sure.
I have a student in Brooklyn that I would go to, and I live up in the
Gotta
Bronx.
take the A train. Yeah.
The A, the 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4, 5, 6,
yeah.
right? And,
Yeah.
and so I don't know that I will go back to that level of craziness. Now, I will offer. There's some people that may not have their heart set on online learning. But the majority of people are embracing it nicely. So I might keep one day a week where I do in-person lessons, maybe on a Saturday or something like that. But I decided that I'm not going to work as crazily traveling all over Manhattan to do that. And like Joel said before, the efficiencies, my students I know are getting so much more out of their lessons because we're not resetting pieces, and
you get more done. Three or four times as much material, which means we have to be more prepared. We have to have more. We have to have more material. Yeah,
absolutely.
But we're all old enough to remember that we used to study out of books, and so we had to look at the book, move the piece, look at the book, move the piece, and it's so much more efficient when you're younger now, when you could just click, and the moves are there right in front of you.
They have it easy, don't they?
Well, you could just speed through so many games that would take us physically. It would take us longer to do it.
Yeah.
So,
but books are still good.
Books are still good. And books. Speaking of books, Joel, Harold mentioned in my ear earlier that you have a new one coming out.
Yes, I have a new book. It's called World Champion Chess for Juniors, and I would hold it up on screen. Except I haven't got my copies yet. Apparently, the mail is moving a little slowly these days.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
I can't understand.
But anyway, I think it's a really good book. Again, I'm working with New in Chess Publishers. They do great stuff.
They do.
And this really the last few books that I've written, and I've gotten into the book writing the last few years. Of course, I wrote one in the 80s, a long time ago, and then a 20-year gap.
I have it. It's in my collection.
Yeah, unorthodox opening. It's golden oldie.
Yeah.
But recently, my books have been very informed by my teaching experience. And in the teaching, I learn things, and I say like, yeah, this is what I got to get out there. Like my previous book, Better Thinking, Better Chess, was, from working with students, and I learned things like, hey, all my students play the first move that pops into their head, even if they're 2000.
Right.
I mean, the 2000 players don't play it instantly, but they think for a minute and say, okay, that looks okay, and they play it. So I thought, okay, I got to improve the thought process there. The current book, World Champion Chess for Juniors, what perhaps inspired me to write this was an experience I had teaching camp. Okay, I went to a camp, and two of my fellow instructors, who were quite a bit younger than me, could not name the world champions. And if you gave them a name, they could not put them in the right era. Like Emmanuel Lasker could be in the 1950s for all they would know. And I just thought, like, this is sacrilege, because
I'm offended just listening to that.
like growing up, and and you can see in the background a little bit. I have tons of books in my office here, and most of those books were accumulated in my childhood, because all right, that was the only way we could learn, but it was a good way to learn. You read books, you absorb the information better, I think, because you're a little more active in it. But those old games, like my books, I had game collections of just about everybody, and I studied those games, and I learned the strategies and the ideas that developed over time. And you see nowadays there's a lot of talented young kids who are like 2,600, can be 2,600 on tactics tests because that's all they do. Like, I'm a massive tactical player, but you get a position, give them a position where there's no tactic, and they're not really sure what to do, So it's I think that players need more balance. Now, that's why I called it World Champion Chess for Juniors, because I really, really, really want young players to read this, learn some history, and appreciate the development of ideas over time, the standing on the shoulders of giants that we do. Right. But I also want to say that, like old guys like us will like this book too, because there's a lot of great games and history and stuff and they'll probably, appreciate some of the shots that I take at the young people. And of course,
oh, I got to get it now.
There you go. So it is actually out now, even in the United States. So you can order it from wherever people like to get their books from. They can order it now.
I got the Kindle version just the other day, and I have like zero.
See, he's seen it before me.
Yeah, well, I was curious as heck to see it, and I have a fairly large repertoire of classic games that I show students, and I just wanted to see Joel's take on that, on which games he thought were important games to show. So I'm adding. As we speak, games to my repertoire of what I may educate students with. And to tag on to Joel's point there, we have a lot of young players who are 2,600 level, but they're missing that classical education in their play. They can spot things very quickly. They're brilliant at bullet chess and things of that nature. They're wonderful tactically. But, can they play typical positions that arise that, players like Karpov and Carlsen have that knowledge of these are how you treat those positions. And those things can only be gained by having a classical education, if you will, by knowing the classics. Kramnik was big on knowing the classic games, and well, every great player I think has a good classical education, but those are examples that come to mind, and Joel looks to fill in those pieces.
Well, I think that's excellent, because we go back to the times of Morphy and we see the games, and then we see the times of Steinitz where he tries to make a systematic approach to it and get a set of rules, of principles of play. And then it's really well documented in Taras's The Game of Chess, which is still useful even today. It was written in the first part of the 20th century, but it still has good fundamental principles. And then you see the hypermodern school, but you can't really understand the hypermodern school unless you understand the Steinitzian approach. And why Nimzovich was so sure that he was finding a different system that was better. And he called it my system. And then you have to understand that. And people like Alekhine, who really combined both and was a great player. And then the dominance of the Soviet players. And, the classic book, the 1953, Zurich, by Bronstein. It was like, to me, it was eye-opening. Like you got a file and a diagonal. Oh, that's worth the exchange. And I went, what? And so, you really learn by studying the games of the past and the progress of the game and the evolution of the game.
That's exactly the word I was thinking of. Joel's book kind of shows the flow and the advancement of thought throughout the history of chess.
Yeah, you're actually given a synopsis of a lot of the book. Although I have to say that the book is about the world champion. So I limit it in that sense. So guys like Nimzovich and Reddy, who never won the world championship, they take it on the chin in this book.
Short shrift.
Their hypermodern ideas don't work out that well, because we don't see Reddy's best games. We see Alekhine dumping rookie 3 on Reddy.
Yeah, right. or beating Nimzovich and saying, there's your system.
Oh, Nimzovich,
Put that in your pipe and smoke
he
it.
loses a lot in the book. Yeah. And Marshall actually, I think, is the #1 victim in my book because he lost a lot of memorable games to world champions.
Yeah, Capablanca.
Yeah, that's in there, and all the Marshall analysis and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that was the fascinating part about books, which sometimes, tell me if this translates online, because the annotations in the books, and also you get to get the same game and you get different perspectives from great players on the same game. And that's also a learning experience too. But if I play over a game quickly online, am I getting that kind of perspective?
If you're playing over a game, like if you're just like say a student playing over a game without analysis,
right?
Yeah, you don't, and people most of the time when they see a game, it's without analysis. I would say before the internet, when they were getting maybe their material maybe from ChessBase, they might get a load of annotated games. But right. Yeah, that's the danger. And of course, we do have this teacher of sorts, the chess engine, and the chess engine gives us some information, but it's very difficult for people to use the engine wisely. In my writings, I actually talk a lot about the engines, and I sometimes give engine evaluations, and I say, but this is not a real life engine. This engine evaluation is not a real life evaluation, because this doesn't represent what would happen to humans. Like a human would never play this move.
Right.
So I don't know. I hear players sometimes say like, yeah, or they put a question mark next to their move because their move, the computer says it's plus 35, and they could have played another move that was plus 75. It's like, oh, come on.
You know,
these numerical evaluations can be useful, but they have limited use.
Like when you see plus minus, it's like, oh, there's like maybe there's a tactic, or there's enduring pressure that you can't overcome. So the very broad ones are useful, but the difference between plus 50 and 0, it's often not helpful at all.
Yeah. The interesting that engines do have their limitations. Obviously they're great at calculating brute force tactics, but still they are not complete in their strategical understanding of the game. And there's many examples that I've come across where they may evaluate the position as equal, but it could be far worse than that. The evaluation, even strategically, one side may have an advantage that could be a winning advantage. So there are elements that the computer is still lacking in its understanding, believe it or not.
Well, we have to give a shout out to the informants, because the informants were how I would get the latest and greatest information, and they would give evaluations plus minus, like Joel said. And my favorite thing was this. Speaking of the 80s, I wrote this book in the 80s, and
hey, remember the 80s.
Yay, 80s. And one of the things that I loved about it was the informant evaluation of one of my lines was a plus minus for white. And it was really minus plus. Black was better in that position. And I can't tell you how many games I won by people playing into the informant line that they thought was better for white when it wasn't.
Yeah, we were in the desert back then. I wrote my first book, Unorthodox Openings, with Eric Schiller, because he had a computer. He had a computer. He could do desktop publishing. I literally could not write a book by myself because I had stone knives and bearskins.
Yes. Oh, it's very true. And this is, I started publishing books in the 90s, and it was so wonderful to get, the Microsoft book. It was Microsoft Word for Dummies. And it just saved my life in terms of publishing, because the manual was useless. I couldn't figure out how to do things, and it explained it to me. So, all of a sudden I had this computer that could do all this. You just click this and push it over here and it works. So the revolution started for me in the 90s. The tactical, tools that I acquired to be able to publish, to be able to do this. And now it's going to another level. From what I'm hearing from you guys, you're taking it to a new level beyond just giving somebody something to read. You're giving them an experience.
Yeah, and you have to balance the two, the information that you get from the computers that inform you and help uh, uh, teach more nuances in the position. But you know, the old-fashioned things count. Understanding, being able to explain. Actually, the books now are much better than the old ones because
Oh,
we
Oh yeah.
understand we understand that we're in an era where we realize, you know, as chess players, you know, we're also chess teachers and coaches that it doesn't really, you know, we're not writing to show, you know, that we have brilliant theories. We're writing to an audience, and the audience needs to learn, and we have to put that material out there in a way for them to absorb and understand. And that's certainly something that we're going to be doing in our classes at
Yes.
AOCA. Because you know, we're all experienced teachers. We all know how to speak well, and we'll get
Yes.
our points across, and it will be a good learning experience for everyone who joins us.
Yeah. Me speak pretty one day, but I do think that what I was getting at is the experience of actually being online with Joel Benjamin telling you about what he thinks about the moves that you played in your game.
Well,
That's awesome.
well, yeah. I mean, you know, the world has been shrinking for a long time. It's now possible for players to come from small towns and small states and become good
Yeah.
players because they have access to the coaching. But this gives provides a platform that anybody out there can potentially join up with. And yeah, it doesn't matter where you live. You have opportunity to learn from
Exactly.
me, and
Exactly right.
that's a difference. I'm not just for, you know, New Yorkers and New Jerseyans now.
Yeah, right. It's so important because when I was growing up as a teenager, you know, before I could drive, I would have to have someone drive me to New York, which was like 3.5, 4 hours away, you know, before I could play in a tournament where people were better than I was. And so this was a big event for me. And now I can just dial up and talk to Joel Benjamin, you know, and it's like, what were the chances of me doing that when I was 15? You know, what was the chance that I would, well, you were younger then, but what was the chance I would run into Nick DeFermian like this?
Well, you know, Jim, you know, in the online teaching business, you know, most of the work is with young players. It's in schools, and you know, juniors are very avid in taking lessons. But you know, we also plan to do things for adults. We plan to have adult classes. You know, those are a little bit more difficult to organize because the people are more spread out. But I think that's something that we can hit on, a really untapped resource in chess, that adult players can get together in groups and they can learn the things, and they know what they want to learn, you know, so we can
Right.
work on, you know, what
You can target the information that they need.
target that information. And it's really kind of harder for them because other than, you know, contacting someone for private lessons, there isn't really so much out there. So I'm going to try to appeal to the chess population broadly.
Yeah.
I think that's so good. It warms my heart to hear you say that because Joel and Harold, one of the things that I've been trying to do for the last 20 years is to get chess into senior centers, because I think that this is an untapped resource, and there's evidence that, of course, it can't stop a disease like Alzheimer's or dementia, but there's evidence that it can slow the effects.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
and I could speak exactly for that. Jim, our mutual friend, Beatrice Marinella,
Yes,
she has a organization called Checkmate Dementia.
I'm on that board. This is why we're
Tentacles
talking.
everywhere.
I'm aware of that. So, and Beatrice has had me do classes for Checkmate Dementia, and I've done in the senior centers. I've also, there was a daytime class that I did at the Marshall Chess Club, and my experience with that was very positive and fulfilling on my standpoint, because I saw senior people and how they are embracing learning this idea of chess, and it was wonderful to see. I would love to see an expansion of that program. I'm a big believer in that.
I would like to jump in and just talk about seniors for a little bit. Of course, as you mentioned,
Sure.
beginning of the show, I won the senior championship, which I'm very, very excited about. But
Yeah.
senior chess has revived my career. I mean, I've been, sort of relegated to being a coach and an author, and I love those things, but I
Yeah,
also
sure.
enjoy playing, and
Right.
I
Right.
feel my skills are still pretty sharp, the long open tournaments with all the rounds and,
It's
Goichberg crowding
tiring.
everybody together. I
Yeah.
just can't do that.
Yeah.
But I played in the World Senior Team Championship, and we three-peated. We did the trifecta of
Yeah.
2018,
Tip of the hat.
2019, 2020. A pandemic couldn't stop us.
That's right.
It stopped the full completion of the tournament. They only got through 7 rounds, but we were the
Right.
winners. So,
Yeah.
so I'm a triple gold medalist because of that. And I love the senior chess. But also, last year I played in the Senior Open, and I made a family trip of it. We drove out.
Yeah.
We stopped in Cleveland, went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Canton,
Yeah.
football and all that,
Of course.
and then went on to Chicago, and I played in the tournament there. And so, the moment I step into the Senior Open, it's like, they're fanning me with palm leaves, it's
I
like,
know.
because they remember everything
Yeah.
I've done. They
Yeah.
know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not just like, hey, did I see you on chess.com once? It's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
like the
Yeah.
one time I was on chess.com, they they could talk with me about all this old stuff, and
Yeah.
every one of them has a book. Oh, can you sign my book?
And it's like
It's-
a reunion.
It
Almost.
is, and
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily know all those people. Some of them are just fans. Some of them are people that I've known a little bit throughout the years. It's just so great to be in that environment. And as much as I do enjoy teaching kids and fumigating my wisdom upon them, I in terms of a tournament environment, I really like to be with the seniors.
I would play in the first Senior Open I was qualified to play in, and I loved the tournament because it was like a reminder of how tournaments used to be. Not the crowded huge events and with the prize money and the killers, were underrated killers out there and all that kind of stuff. It was just guys who loved to play chess, and so I'm on board too in the last round. So if I win, I can maybe tie for first, and so there's some pressure going into the game. And I introduce myself to my opponent, and he says, he recognizes my name, and he says, didn't you play in some tournaments in Troy, New York? And I said, yeah, I did at RPI. And he says, oh, yeah. And I said, I actually won one of the tournaments there. And he said, yeah, I was the director. And it was like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't
Small
have.
world.
Yeah.
I love those stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. That's the good part about being a dinosaur is remembering.
So that's a great
Triassic period.
Go ahead, Harold.
I'm not quite as old as the two of you. I've just turned 50.
Well, you're senior. Yeah.
But I am a senior now, and I am embracing the fact of potentially playing in the U.S. Senior Open next year out in Pomona.
It's fun.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Play at least once.
Yeah.
That's my heartfelt advice. It's an experience. But
Yeah.
not only is it fun to play, but the instruction I got when I was at the mechanics doing teaching there, I had a senior Tuesday or senior Wednesday, I can't remember, but it was back in the 90s. And this was a small group, maybe 6 to 8 people, but they were dedicated. They showed up every week, and they wanted to be there, and they wanted to learn, and it was wonderful. And then there was a senior center in Palo Alto, the next town over, and I would do lessons there, and I would cover something one week, and the next week someone would say, I would show the same thing over as a way of transitioning, and they would say, oh, no one's ever explained it to me that way. And I go, well, I did last week, but the point is they're engaged.
Yeah, you know what I love about the
engaged.
senior classes is they're actually taking notes. So they bring their notepads and they're writing that down. If I had,
They know how to use a pen.
yeah,
and they're
how exciting that would be for me if we had younger players.
it's not a stylus.
Actually, we did a camp. We did a camp this summer, and one of the Joel's students, a young lady, she was taking notes during the camp. She was very good like that, and I was like, oh, how refreshing, you know.
She's a good one, yeah.
But isn't it something to have a chess class that people are anticipating? It's Tuesday. Oh my, we better get the chess class today.
Yeah.
You know, it's wonderful. So
Yeah.
when you walk into those rooms and you walk out of them, you're kind of walking on air. It's sort of like, that was great. That was a great experience. So
Yeah,
it's a gift
very
you
world
give
war-
to a child. It can last a lifetime.
Yeah.
So give this gift to children and take care of the seniors. Be there for them too. So
Yeah,
you guys
sure.
are doing it all. You guys are doing it all. I'm really proud of you. I have to once again tip my hat to you. Thank you so much. Is there any closing arguments, Counselor Benjamin? Do you have anything that you want to say before we close this show?
Well, just remind people, AmericanOnlineChess.com. I mean, we're called the American Online Chess Academy, but our website name is AmericanOnlineChess.com, AOC. Around here, people can remember that pretty easily. And because the search engines aren't so
Well,
kind to us just yet, so if you're interested, it's a good idea to go and write that down now, and look to see, in the coming months, people will hear about all the stuff that we're offering, classes for kids, group lessons, camps. We're gonna get tournaments going. I mean, maybe Harold can add to that.
Sure, and also targeted seminars or workshops. Joel might introduce different topics, different openings that he might go over. Also, we have the ability on our website. The company that we're using for our playing room is adding more and more functionality. They really and they're embracing ideas that are coming to them from their users. So pretty soon we'll be having Joel do a simul. So I mean, it's the possibilities are endless. So we're very excited. We're still in our infancy, taking our baby steps, but more and more
of course.
we're going to be adding things. And online learning is here to stay. That being said, I'm looking forward to having human contact back in the.
Oh yes,
but
all of us.
But there will be this mix, because, like we said, there will be people that normally don't have that access that now have access to great instruction, and they don't have to come to New Jersey to be with a teacher like Joel. They can be in Wyoming and have a class.
And you don't have to hop onto the F train or the A train to get to them. So this is the wave of the future. I really believe this. It's the way to give access to people that didn't have access to it. It's the way to build the communities now. And if you're part of a community, you're never alone. So even if it's just logging on, you make contact. This is so important. You guys, I wanted to have you guys on the show just because I think this is so important and is the future. What you guys are doing is very impressive to me, and I wanted to just be able to tell you that to your faces, even though it's not in person.
Well, thank you, and we want to extend the compliments to you. You're doing great things with your foundation as well.
Thank you.
And I think this show is also very useful to get all this good stuff out. I've seen that you're an equal opportunities spreader of the word, to promote chess in all possible ways. And when we work together doing that, then by the way, to speak about promoting chess, how about the Queen's Gambit?
Oh yeah, I knew
Queen's
that.
Gambit.
Awesome. Yes.
I mean, I've managed to get through the first 4. Is a problem. First of all, tough to get my kids to go to bed, and then I can watch it with my wife. and she's tired, so she falls asleep. So it's very hard to get the shows in. So we watched 4 shows,
You're a
and
slacker.
then we had to watch Steve Kornacki all the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
In a few days when that dies down, we'll watch the last 3 episodes.
I've only got through 3, but so
Yeah.
you're ahead of me. But yeah, it's great. It's a great show.
And you know, but I've gotten, you know, calls and texts from lots of friends who don't play chess, and they say, "Oh, we love the Queen's Gambit." So that's really helping.
Also, a shout out to Bruce Pandolfini, our friend, who was a consultant on the show.
Well, he's a genius at that. He also did that work for Searching for Bobby Fischer, and he designed that sequence where, you know, Josh makes a queen and skewers and wins the other queen. You know that. Yeah, and
the chess is actually very well done. A lot of times in the filmdom universe, the chess is botched.
It's not completely right, but it's in the ballpark. You know?
What comes to mind is a Pawn Sacrifice with Tobey Maguire, and he's looking through Shakmani Bulletin, and he's playing a move like A4 on move 1. I mean, what that appeared.
That's just laziness, really.
Like never.
Yeah.
Or Dan Lucas's bugaboo is the misaligned board.
Board wrong, yeah.
The dark square is in the right corner. We all have our little things that set us off. But you know, it is a great show, and it is helping to popularize the game. And I think it couldn't happen at a nicer time for us because we are in this shutdown because of the pandemic. You know, we have to reach out in different ways than we used to, and it turns out that it can be more effective. Go ahead, Terry.
And maybe I'm a good promoter of Joel, but Joel also has a YouTube channel where he's doing lessons as a nice, interesting angle, because he's doing lessons where he's going over classic games, and his son is sitting right next to him, and it's like he's having the father-son experience.
It's Joel Benjamin Teaches Chess is the name of the channel.
Channel name?
Joel Benjamin Teaches Chess, yeah. And I thought about getting into the 21st century, creating online presence. That's what you got to do now. So I'm not really a Twitcher like Hikaru, so it's not really my
Twitter.
thing.
Yeah, Twitch. Yes,
yeah, he twitches.
Yes.
He's doing this live streaming stuff.
Yeah, that's what we used to do. Yeah.
And his stepdad used to do the twitching and the tournament and all that. But anyway,
he's doing fantastic with it. But that's not.
He is doing fantastic. But I like to do something a little instructional. I prefer to put together videos, something that's maybe edited a little bit, just a little bit tighter. And my colleagues at AOCA were very supportive of this idea. Yeah, you should do that. And then a friend of mine who isn't even a chess player, he proposed the idea of doing videos with Aiden. And Aiden is he's a bit of a chess player himself. He's played in a few tournaments and then kind of lost a little interest in competing, but probably would be about 1,000 strength if he put a little time in it. And I think it really helps because what I want to do is I want to make of course I want to get zillions of hits and all that and lots of subscribers, but what I want to do, I look at a lot of the videos out there, and there's a lot of videos that people watch. There's a lot of presenters who are deadly boring. Even grandmaster. I don't think there's really that many grandmasters. There are a lot of grandmasters doing the live streaming type stuff. I don't think there's a lot of them that are doing these videos and doing them at a high level. I don't mean high level like high rating, but quality instruction and entertainment. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give like small doses of education with some entertainment. And my son is very good at making jokes, even making fun of the old man sometimes.
Yeah.
They're very lightly scripted. But also the thing is that with existing technology, the chess technology and the recording technology, and the fact that my son, by watching a zillion YouTube videos, knows how to do all this editing, which totally befuddles me.
Right.
It's
Good.
real. It's actually real easy to. It's actually real easy to get into.
Yeah, and so it's Joel Benjamin Teaches Chess to the YouTube channel, and you can also check out the Eid Foundation YouTube channel.
And by the way,
these guys are going to be on it later.
The YouTube channel also has a connection to the Oka website.
Excellent.
A little synergy there.
That's the way. That's the way to do it, because it's all about connecting and getting people to know that you're out there is part of the problem that we have. Because you've got a service that you're providing, but who knows about it? And the person who wants that service, and you don't know them.
And despite how it looks now, I've always been the worst self-promoter. I don't like doing that. I don't like tooting my own horn. I prefer to have Harold do it for me.
Yeah, that's
Right.
why
I'm learning to try to do that more.
That's why he's president.
I have my books
what I do
around now. I'm wearing the Oka shirt.
There you go.
I'm learning that that
We can, it's baby
noticed
steps. Baby steps. You'll get there.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate so much that you guys were joining with me today on the Chess Files. The answers are out there. And I'm going to put you guys backstage. Hang out there for a while I wrap up the show, and we can talk afterwards. All right?
Great. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to remove Harold first, and then Joel last, and then it's just going to be me telling you to thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you got as much out of that as I did. And this is James Eid from the Eid Foundation, but you can call me Jim. The idea is to build communities through chess, because if you're part of a community, you're never alone. And in this day when we're shut in, sometimes we feel alone. The pandemic has forced us to not have as much human contact as we have had in the past. And many of us, including myself, miss it. But this is a way to stay connected. So please join us every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. And thank you so much. This is James Eid saying goodbye for now.